Imagine you're sitting by the fire. You've spent 3 days hunting. 3 days of tracking, waiting, failing, trying again. And finally, you have meat. Enough to eat, enough to share, enough to survive another week. You fall asleep, you wake up. It's gone. Someone in your own tribe took it while you slept. No police to call, no court to go to, no number to dial. Just you, your rage, and 30 people who all live within 10 meters of each other. So what do you do? What did ancient humans actually do when someone stole from them? And what happened to the thief? The answer is stranger, darker, and more sophisticated than you'd ever expect. First, let's understand what theft actually meant in the Stone Age, because it wasn't just annoying, it could be lethal. Hunter-gatherer tribes typically had between 20 and 50 people. There were no refrigerators, no food storage systems, no supermarkets an hour away. What you had today was what you ate today. One stolen meal wasn't a property crime. In a bad week, during a drought, during winter, during a failed hunt, one stolen meal could mean the difference between a child eating or not eating. Theft wasn't just rude. It was potentially a death sentence for the victim, which means the tribe's response to it had to be serious, and it was. Here's the first thing you need to understand about justice in a small tribe. There were no strangers. In a group of 30 people who have lived together their entire lives, everyone knows everything. What you ate, where you slept, who you argued with last Tuesday. The thief almost always got caught, not through detective work, but because everyone was watching everyone else all the time. Privacy, as we understand it today, simply didn't exist. So what happened once the thief was identified? The first punishment wasn't violence, it was gossip. Anthropologists who have studied modern hunter-gatherer societies, like the Kungsan of the Kalahari Desert and the Hadza of Tanzania, have found that social humiliation was the primary tool of justice. The tribe would talk about the thief, loudly, constantly, in front of them, around them, within earshot. For days, they would mock the thief's greed, imitate their sneaking, laugh at them in the morning and laugh at them at night. This sounds mild by modern standards, but in the ancient world, it was devastating because of something called the reputation economy. In a world with no banks, no contracts, no legal system, and no written records, your reputation was your currency. It determined whether people shared food with you, whether they helped you build shelter, whether they watched your back at night, whether anyone wanted to mate with you. A thief didn't just lose respect. They lost access to every system that kept them alive. Being known as a thief in a tribe of 30 people was a slow, quiet death sentence, carried out not with weapons, but with turned backs and silence. But what happened when the thief didn't care? When the shaming didn't work? When they did it again? Then the victim's family got involved. And in a tribe, your family was your army. A theft wasn't just an offense against you as an individual. It was an offense against your kin group. Your brothers, your cousins, your parents. They all had skin in the game because the tribe's food supply and trust networks affected everyone. Suddenly, the thief wasn't facing one angry person. They were facing 8 angry relatives who all agreed something needed to happen. This is where something remarkable emerged, something that anthropologists believe is the oldest judicial institution in human history, the tribal council. No robes, no gavel, no courthouse, just the elder members of the tribe, the most experienced, most respected, most trusted people in the group, sitting around a fire and deciding your fate. Both sides were heard. The victim spoke. The thief spoke. Witnesses spoke. And then the elders deliberated. Researchers studying societies like the Juhuansi Bushmen have documented this process in extraordinary detail. It was slow, loud, and often heated. People interrupted. People cried. People made speeches. But at the end, a verdict was reached. And that verdict was collective. It wasn't one person's judgment, it was the group's. Think about that. 12,000 years before the first written law code, 30,000 years before the first courtroom, human beings had already figured out that justice should be collective, not personal. So what were the sentences the council could hand down? They ranged from mild to absolute. For a first offense, or a sympathetic one, someone stealing food during a genuine crisis, the punishment was usually public confession, restitution, and more shaming. Give back what you took, or its equivalent. Admit what you did in front of everyone, and carry that reputation for a while. For repeat offenders, or for theft that was particularly cruel, stealing from a widow, stealing from a child, stealing during a famine, the council had harder tools. The most common serious punishment was ostracism, And here's what you need to understand. In the ancient world, ostracism wasn't a timeout. It was a death sentence in slow motion. Being expelled from the tribe meant you couldn't hunt effectively alone. You had no one to build shelter with, no one to watch for predators while you slept, no one to care for you if you got injured or sick. You were one twisted ankle away from dying alone in the wilderness. Anthropologists call this social execution. The body continues to live for a while, but the person is effectively dead to the community that gave them meaning, safety, and survival. In extreme cases, serial theft, violent theft, theft that had already caused someone's death, the council could sanction physical punishment or killing. But here is the crucial detail. It was never one person's decision. The victim couldn't just pick up a spear. The victim's family couldn't act alone. The council had to agree. A majority, sometimes a unanimous one, had to decide together that this outcome was justified. Due process, collective judgment, proportional punishment. 30 people around a fire, 50,000 years ago, had already invented the foundations of modern criminal law. Now here's the twist that most people don't see coming. In most hunter-gatherer societies, theft was actually rare. Not because ancient humans were morally superior, not because they were afraid of punishment, but because the economic system made theft largely pointless. In most hunter-gatherer tribes, sharing wasn't optional. It was mandatory. If you made a kill, a deer, a wildebeest, a wild boar, you didn't get to keep it. You brought it back to camp, and you distributed it. The whole tribe ate. Hoarding food was considered a far worse crime than stealing it. Think about that logic for a moment. In a world where everything is already shared equally, what is there to steal? Survival food was communal property by default. It already belonged to everyone. So when theft did happen, when someone actually violated the social contract badly enough to trigger the whole process we've just described, it was usually about status items. A better crafted spear, a decorated necklace, a prime sleeping spot near the fire. Not survival, status. And that tells us something profound about the nature of theft itself. Theft is almost always a symptom of inequality. When resources are genuinely shared, people don't steal survival goods. When people feel they have less than others, less status, less power, less access, that's when things go missing. Ancient tribes had almost no economic inequality. Everyone ate roughly the same food, slept in roughly the same conditions, had roughly the same access to resources, and they had almost no theft. Make of that what you will. So let's zoom out. Our entire modern legal system, courts, juries, collective punishment, the presumption of innocence, the concept of reputation and character witnesses, the idea that a community decides guilt rather than a single person, all of it is a scaled-up version of what 30 people figured out around a campfire 200,000 years ago. The wiring is identical. The instincts are the same. When someone cuts in front of you in a queue, you feel a specific kind of rage. Disproportionate, visceral, almost tribal. That's not a personality flaw. That's 200,000 years of justice instinct firing all at once, recognizing a violation of the social contract and demanding a response. When a public figure is caught doing something dishonest and the internet descends on them with mockery, humiliation, and pile-ons that last for weeks, that's shaming. Exact same mechanism, exact same function, same tribe, bigger fire. We didn't invent justice. We inherited it. We just added wigs and courtrooms. The next time you feel that gut punch of outrage when someone takes something that isn't theirs, whether it's your parking spot, your idea in a meeting, or your lunch from the office fridge, remember this. You are not overreacting. You are running the oldest justice software on Earth. And it has been working, more or less, for a very long time. If you found this interesting, subscribe. There's a lot more where this came from.